You know, this film's title could actually be an autobiography for me. I mean, at the end of my life, I'm going to have a funeral. I've been married twice. The only reason why it isn't a third time is because when I asked, something happened. Watch. Baby, will you marry me? And that's why it will stop at 2. Anyway, enough about my life. Let's crack on with the film. Four Weddings and a Funeral is a 1994 British romantic comedy film directed by Mike Newell. It tells the story of Charles and his university friends as they all go to various weddings and a funeral, all moaning about their love lives. When the film was released, it was universally praised. But was it praised for the right things? Because that will come up in this video. But everyone loved it, and even today it is generally regarded as a cult classic. But what have I found wrong with it? Well, let's find out as I discuss 10 things wrong with Four Weddings and a Funeral. Number 10, lead actor. No, I'm not here to say that the lead actor was bad. In fact, Hugh Grant, this film made Hugh Grant's career. Now, I know everyone says he's lovely and handsome, and personally I don't see it, but hey, that's my opinion and I'm not putting it on the list. But what I am going to put on the list is his comments. Now, throughout the making of the film, he was openly critical of Mike Newell's direction. He wasn't actually happy with it. After the film was made, but before it was released, he watched a rough copy of this film and thought the film was awful. Now, in later years, he actually gets and understands what Mike Newell's vision was, and he said it did work. But at the time, he didn't see it. He was very openly critical, which isn't the best thing for a film before it comes out. Number 9, premiere. Now, I actually remember this from when the film was premiered. It was on all the news, it was in all the papers about the premiere of Four Weddings and a Funeral. However, not one of these press things was about the film. It was all about Liz Hurley's dress, as seen in the Berry telly. Yes, it's a gorgeous dress. Yes, she looks gorgeous. However, it overshadowed the film. So while the film got all this publicity, the film itself got none. It was like, at the premiere of Four Weddings and Funeral, Liz Hurley looked like this. Okay, now tell me about the film. Was the film any good? Although publicity is good, this publicity didn't really enhance or, in fact, it didn't actually hurt. It was just, Liz Hurley wore this dress at this film. Could have been any film. Number 8, song. I feel it in my fingers. Yeah, we'll stop there. But everyone knows that song and it's now going to be stuck in your heads for the rest of the day. But same again, that song overshadowed this film. Now, on the plus side, it did show the film, but the song was too much for this film. It could have been one of the longest number ones in UK history. However, the band Wet 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 pulled it so to make sure it didn't happen. But it is up there along with Everything I Do It For You, My Heart Will Go On. These sort of songs that are for films that are going to remain immortal, but it sort of overshadows, especially with this film, it overshadowed it and overpowered it. Same again, it didn't really help or hinder the film. Number 7, missing guests. So, this film is about four weddings and a funeral. Great, and strange enough, I actually do like that. Except, the people who got married in the first wedding were not at the second, or the third, or the funeral, but they were at the fourth one. Why not? Now, I can understand why they weren't at the third wedding. That one I understand. But why weren't they at the funeral? This was someone they had invited to their wedding. He went to college with these people, for God's sake, so he would be there. Why were they not at the second wedding? I mean, the bride of the second wedding was a bridesmaid at the first wedding. These couple got together at your wedding. Why did the guests just disappear? Doesn't make sense. Seriously, if I was the bride of that first wedding and didn't get invited to the second wedding, I would be hacked off. Number 6, sea noise. So at Gareth's funeral, or after Gareth's funeral, Charles and Tom, they go off for a talk and they're actually pondering why they're always single, what's wrong with their lives. It's a really heartfelt, moving scene, and it is enhanced by the waves crashing on the beach in the background. And I actually like it until you actually look at the sea and see that the tide is miles out and it is calm as anything, you would have not heard it. So as much as I get why you added the sound effects in, and it does enhance the scene, the audio does not match what you see on the screen. Now, I agree, it enhances the scene, but where it doesn't match up, it's really annoying, especially for a nitpicker like me. Number 5, extras. Now this film, like many other films, hire tons and tons of extras to fill out the churches, fill out the wedding reception. Hell, as an extra, this is probably a good day's work, until you do some digging and find out that these extras had to bring their own wedding clothes. Now, as much as I'd love to be an extra in a film, if any casting directors out there, please contact me, but as much as I'd love to do it, I wouldn't want to bring my wedding clothes to a film, just in case they got ruined. That is a bit wrong, but they were on a tight budget. Number 4, wrong wedding song. Traditionally, when you get married, the bride walks into Here Comes the Bride and walks out to the wedding march. That is how it traditionally happens. However, that's not what happened in this film. With the 4th wedding, she walks in to the wedding march. No, that's the leaving as the happy couple. You walk into Here Comes the Bride. You don't walk out to Here Comes the Bride because the groom's there. Come on, now that one was a silly, stupid mistake that was easily rectified. Number 3, wet clothes. So, at the end of this film, in the final scene, Carrie goes to knock on Charles' door to make sure he's okay after he's just ruined his wedding day. Idiots. But she's there, knocks on the door, she's soaking wet because it's pouring outside, even though she doesn't notice it's raining. Bad joke. So he's there, he steps out and you can just see him just starting to get a little bit wet. They have a 30-second conversation, she walks off, he runs after, and then all of a sudden he looks like someone's thrown a bucket of water over him. In that 2 seconds, he got drenched. Seriously, he went from dry hair to sopping wet hair, his white shirt was see-through, and it was like, well, how did you get that wet? It's not raining that hard. Number 2, bad ADR. Now, in some films, they do this process where they replace what actors are saying with additional dialogue. And the reason by this is because of background noise. Some actors, like David Tennant, absolutely hates it, but normally you can't notice it, except in this film. In fact, before I even watched this film, I remembered this bad ADR before I even knew what ADR was. And that's the last scene, when they're talking. It's so out of place, their words and mouths do not match up at all. And yeah, it's just so bad. And when I say so bad, I mean it's really bad. It is off-putting and laughable. And no, they should have been in that studio for a lot longer to make sure that worked, but no, that was bad. Number 1, Spinoff Series. Strangely enough, all I've written on my script is WTF for this, but there is a follow-on series. Even though it's different characters, different actors, and Andie MacDowell's in that, but she plays a completely different character as well, and it is an Americanized butchery of this film. The film is British to its heart. It is Britishness done to perfection, even though it's not a perfect film. I will never say that. So what do the Americans do? They come in and give the English people the OTT posh English accent. Now, I did try and watch an episode in terms of research, and oh my god, it was bad. I turned it off after 5 minutes, so I can't give you a review on that series, but why? Who in their right mind thought it was a good idea? Now, Richard Curtis thought it was a good idea because he went and wrote a sequel to this film called Red Nose Day and a Wedding, and surprisingly, it's not that bad. Granted, it carries some of the same jokes over, but it's an okay follow-on. It's on, go and watch it. It's 15 minutes long, it's a nice little thing, nice little nods, and seeing all these casts back together is great. But the American TV series, avoid it like it's COVID. Final thoughts. So when this film was released, I actually do remember it, and for some reason, because it was produced by Channel 4, Channel 4 actually put it on TV a year after the film was released. Something that was very rare back in that day. And yes, I watched it and I loved this film, really enjoyed it. My partner, she really enjoyed this film when it came out. So for Valentine's Day, we thought we'd do this. We sat down to watch it and realised it's not as good as we thought it was. In fact, it's a little bit boring, it's a little bit dated, which that bit's excusable, but it doesn't really hold up the test of time. Now, the acting's okay, it launched many of careers and it still has some funny moments, but there's something and I can't put my finger on it, it's missing it. Now, the direction's good, the direction works, keeps it grounded, great. It looks nice, granted there's some visual audio issues in this film quite a lot, but overall it's not bad, and it did have that cracking soundtrack, which, as I said, I do believe overshadowed this film. But overall, this film hasn't held up. Now, if I did rate this when I first watched it, before I started doing all this, I'd probably given it a bit higher. But watching it now, in 2022, it's harder to grade, and that's why this is going to be a very disappointing 6 out of 10. I feel really bad because as I said, I loved this. In fact, I think my mum still has it on VHS. That's how much we liked this film. But that's what I think. What do you think? Before you actually say, go and re-watch it again, and believe me, something's not quite right with this film, and I can't put my finger on it, and I do feel bad about saying that. But that's what I think. Let me know once you've rewatched it what you think in the comments below. But on to next week. Now, next week I'm doing something because work's asked me to, and I normally keep work and YouTube completely separate. But we had a massive argument about next week's film because some people have never heard of it. It is the greatest vampire film ever. Get off my green screen. But if you want to know what film I'm talking about, come back next week and find out. Until then, take care, bye-bye.